Hi, this is Pari Sarnoti from Sentinel, and this is a quick video on what it means to design and build products with consumer privacy in mind. Few of the things I'll cover today include what is privacy and what does it mean in digital world, concept of privacy by design and default, privacy considerations while developing products, and lastly, what can we do about it? Let's first understand what privacy is and why do we have to worry about it when we are building new products. In simple words, privacy is your right to be left alone. It is being free from being observed or disturbed by other people. Interestingly, how we define privacy has changed over years, especially since the emergence of internet, which changed our lives on how we work, how we think, how we communicate, etc., and the amount of data or information that is being collected, exchanged, and used. For this presentation, I'll be focusing on this definition of information privacy, which is the right of an individual to have control over how his or her personal information or data is collected and used. With the technological innovation and advancement, information privacy is becoming more complicated, and companies are using all sorts of tracking technologies like cookies, scripts, web beacons, pixels, fingerprinting, and many more to collect data on the users and visitors on their site pages and across internet. Well, this leaves organizations with a greater responsibility to ensure that the personal data they collect is protected from both privacy and security perspective. And this ties very well into the concept of privacy by design, which is essentially embedding privacy controls to protect data in the product design. So when a business is planning to build a product or a service which involves processing of personal data, it must keep privacy and security of the information in mind at every step. It means that the IT department or any other department that processes personal data must ensure that the privacy is built into the system or process during the entire life cycle of product development. And let's take this a little further with privacy by default. So once a product or a service is released to public, the strictest privacy settings should apply by default without any manual input from the end user. Now that we have spoken about what privacy means, the foundational concept of privacy by design and default, still the big question is how we implement this concept in real life while developing and building products, especially now that the products are more sophisticated and are built with complex functionalities. I would put the privacy considerations that I'll have before, during, and after the product is built into two broad buckets. First bucket being front-end privacy considerations, which has more to do with the user interface or user experience. And then the second bucket, which has to do with back-end functionality, processes, and documentation. Let's look at the first bucket for now. Few of the considerations that come to my mind are: is the data that being collected necessary to perform the activity that the user would expect? And is that usage disclosed to the user? For example, if I am making a purchase on an e-gift card, why would you ask for my shipping address or telephone number? Is the user experience designed so that the user is not manipulated into making a particular choice? And dark patterns are a great example for this, especially the one called bait and switch. And this is an interesting one. I've heard from a colleague that when he tries to download this freeware from the web, this freeware asks if you would like to download number of additional applications. And there is a yes button on the left and no button on the right. And after selecting no button few times, these buttons are flipped on the last question to download another app. And he always end up downloading this unwanted app every time and has to go through the pain of uninstalling it. Another consideration is, have you built in a privacy or preference center in your product where a user can make the decision on privacy choices or settings? Moreover, along with that, does the user have enough information or context to understand the implications while deciding about privacy settings? For example, I might be fine with receiving marketing emails from the company I purchase my clothing from, but I may not be fine with them sharing my information with third parties for marketing related products to me. So, when I'm making this choice, do I have enough information and context as a user? What am I opting in for? And lastly, are the privacy settings set to strictest by default? So, it's more like an opt in and not an opt out. Now it's time to look at the backend privacy considerations, which serves as a strong foundation for your consumer trust. This is where you would ensure that the story you are telling to your users via the user experience or journey is not a story, but the reality. These considerations have more to do with behind the scene functionalities, processes, and documentation, which would typically include: have you connected this data flow of new product or service with your existing privacy processes? For example, your process for subject access request or request to delete data. Have you rigorously evaluated third parties with whom you will be sharing personal data? Do their contracts include all clauses on their responsibility and obligations on data protection, including deletion when the purpose for which the data is shared is achieved? Do you have data quality assurance measures in place to prevent collection of bad data and flag it to your systems? Do you have documentation in place that describes how privacy has been considered throughout the product lifecycle along with needs and expectations of the users? I would generally document this in the BRD or the business requirement document at the time of product development initiation. Are there adequate authentication and authorization controls in place, like data access control, so that only selective individuals who need data for specific purpose has access? Please remember, these are just few things to consider and not a comprehensive list. When you are thinking of developing a new product or service, I would highly recommend that not only developers and engineers, but also user experience designers should work closely with the privacy functions to build these privacy considerations within the core product and in the user interaction with it. It is a combined effort between all these teams and individuals which would result in excellent products with great features, exceptional customer experience, and most importantly, inbuilt strong data protection, which is foundational to building strong and trusted relationship with your customers. I hope you found this video informative and interesting. Please feel free to ping me in case you have any questions or want to learn more about how you can embed privacy into your products, not only to meet your legal obligations, but to build customer confidence and loyalty. Thanks again for watching.